Imagine being a fan of a club that cycled through 3 managers in a single season. That's the chaos unfolding at Roma. Legends have been tossed aside, new managers barely have time to settle, and the club's owners are hiding from their fans in frustration. From a hopeful rebuild to complete turmoil in just a few months, today we're diving into how Roma went from a club with so much promise to a team in disarray just a couple of months later. Let's now rewind a bit. Just a few seasons ago, Roma seemed to be on the rise. They had invested in top talent, secured Jose Mourinho as their manager, and captured the Europa Conference League title, which brought a new wave of excitement among the fans, and Roma looked ready to start challenging Italy's elite in the Serie. But things were never as stable as they seemed. Ownership changes led to uncertainty, financial pressures which forced Roma to offload key players, and injuries started to stack up. Mourinho's style clashed with both the board and the dressing room, and suddenly the stability everyone hoped for was slipping away. Daniele De Rossi's appointment was supposed to make a fresh start for Roma. As a Roma legend and a former captain, De Rossi embodied the club's spirit. He emphasized discipline, unity, and gave youth academy players a real shot in the first team. Roma's fans had faith that he could bring back the grit and the heart that this team had been missing for so long. And under De Rossi, it's fair to say that Roma showed some potential. He was unafraid to shake things up, experimenting with lineups and promoting youth. Fans saw the foundations of a rebuild, even if the results were kind of mixed. But out of nowhere, all of a sudden, he was sacked, with the board citing disagreements over direction. To fans, it looked like another example of upper management's inability to commit to a long-term plan, and De Rossi's sudden departure left everyone questioning the board and their priorities. It was seen as completely disrespectful to someone who was such a club legend, and as a manager wasn't doing a bad job at all. When Ivan Juric took over from De Rossi, reactions were kind of mixed. Juric had a solid reputation for implementing a high-intensity presser style and getting results with smaller clubs, but Roma's chaotic situation and the fact that Juric was stepping into the boots of Daniele De Rossi, well, that was a different kind of test for Juric. Juric tried to install his trademark pressing game, but it was clear from day one that that was never going to be easy with this team. He inherited a squad still reeling from De Rossi's exits, and his demanding style clashed with key players, leading to a divided dressing room so quickly. Roma looked fully disjointed on the pitch. While Juric's tactics kind of worked sometimes, but the team often seemed to be lost in the high pressure moments. Eventually, Juric too was let go, highlighting Roma's large issue, a club stuck in a pattern of short-term thinking, unable to give managers the time needed to rebuild and build a cohesive team. I think it's very fair to say Roma's fan base is among the most loyal and passionate fans across the whole of Europe. But this constant cycle of managerial changes, failed strategies, and empty promises has tested even the most die-hard supporters. After Juric's dismissal, frustration hit an all-time high. Fans were tired of the quote-unquote rebuild narrative that seemed to have no direction. Criticism toward the ownership grew louder, with fans voicing concerns on social media, in the stadium, and even outside of the club's headquarters. Many felt the owners were out of touch, prioritizing quick fixes over a sustainable long-term plan. The fan base wants stability, rightfully so, not an endless parade of short-term decisions and overpaid veterans who rarely delivered on the pitch. Supporters have begun to wonder if the leadership was genuinely focused on making Roma a competitive force, or if they're just projecting a big-name image without a clear, cohesive vision for success. Now, former Leicester manager Claudio Ranieri is set to be named as the interim manager, and it feels like a lifeline. A beloved figure in Italian football and a Roman through and through, Ranieri has managed Roma before, almost leading them to a Serie title in 2010, and his return from the board's perspective isn't just tactical, it's about bringing back stability and identity to a club that seemed to have lost its way, even though I thought De Rossi brought all of that. Known for a crisis manager, according to the board, Ranieri is the ideal fit for a team on the edge. He's pragmatic, experienced, and has a knack for uniting fractured squads. His return is offering fans a glimmer of hope, kind of. I mean, it feels like for some fans, it's like Roma was reconnecting right now with their roots. But Ranieri inherited a daunting task, a squad with low morale, unclear tactics, and a fractured fan base. His job is to bring order and respect back to the badge, and more than anything, to somehow, someway, restore dignity to this club. Ranieri's appointment is more than just a managerial change for some people. It's a statement that Roma wants to repair its relationship with the fans and bring back a sense of purpose. And for some people, it's clear that Ranieri's role, because it's only on a short-term basis, isn't about immediate success. It's about setting a foundation for Roma's much-needed revival. Ranieri's arrival has sparked some optimism, rightfully so, but it's only the first step in a much-needed path to stability. And even then, as much as I like Ranieri, I don't think it's a good path to stability. Because he's only going to come in for one season, how is that any stability? And I really think Daniele De Rossi got let go of too early. And then even to Juric's credit, I believe he was let go of also too early. Roma has been stuck in a cycle of quick fixes with one managerial change after another, and it's clear that this approach can't continue if the club wants to become a serious force in Italian football again, especially with a lot of other Italian football clubs seeming to clean up their act. I mean, what doesn't make sense to me is Daniele De Rossi signed a 3-year deal in the summer with Roma, just extending his deal, as well as Roma pouring out tons of money into the transfer market for Daniele De Rossi's players, only for them to sack him within a couple of games in the season, and to sack Juric within a couple of games of his tenure. It's not making sense. And I know Ranieri is a kind of band-aid, but this wound, in my opinion, is a lot deeper than just a band-aid. For Roma to break this cycle, they need a long-term vision. This means not just building a squad and taking whichever manager can get you some wins. It's about investing in youth development, revamping their scouting, reconnecting with their fan base, and having one manager that they can carry along for 5 or 6 years. Fans have had enough, and what's the best thing to do? Well, I don't believe it's to get Claudio Ranieri, especially because he's going to become an interim manager for just one season. I believe it's find yourself a manager you truly believe in, let him start now, ride the waves with him, and hopefully you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I believe Roma have been managing this completely wrong. They should have stuck with De Rossi, but even then, okay, you've sacked De Rossi, you've sacked Juric. I don't think an interim manager in Claudio Ranieri, I don't think he's going to hold long term. He might get you some results right now because he is so pragmatic and he has a really good track record, but at the end of the day, is Roma really risking long-term growth and a long-term sustainable project for some quick, immediate results?